guys, welcome back to Entrance and Beyond after a long time. And today we have a really cool guest with us. So, I'll tell you a story. So, our story basically begins in a peaceful coastal town in Kapu, that where a 6-year-old girl stepped into karate, and she basically set forth on a really cool journey where she mastered karate. But while mastering karate, she also did great academically. So, today's guest is Pooja Shri Shetty, and she's not just a karate champion. She's an international medalist. She has won a bronze medal abroad in Turkey, and she has also won some awards in Finland. And also, she has an impressive world ranking of 181 during Karate Olympics debut in Tokyo 2020. So that is her entire sports journey. But something that's really fascinating is that with sports, she was also able to do great academically. So Pooja basically has another area of expertise, that is aerospace engineering. So she basically did a degree abroad, and she also works with GE Aerospace currently as an aerospace engineer. So she's worked with GE, she's worked with Rolls Royce before, she's given gates, she's done good in that as well. So it's really going to be a cool story today. So let's dive right into the podcast and understand how Pooja has been so successful in both fields. And she really reminds me of some of the rare people, such as Saurabh Netravalkar. If some of you might have heard about him, he works at Oracle. He's also in the US's cricket team. Then there's a lot of cricketers, Anil Kumble, who has an engineering degree. So yeah, it would be really inspiring to have a chance to talk with someone from such a background. So thank you so much, first of all, Pooja, for coming to the podcast. I want to start off with your early life. Talk a bit about your background and how did this love story with karate really come into play.
Yeah, thank you, Aparimeha. Thank you for having me on your show. It's my pleasure. So, my when I was small, my mom wanted to keep me occupied with different activities so that I come home only to sleep and do my homework. So that's why she was just trying to engage me in different stuffs. But as a kid, my inclination was towards dance initially, and I started with dance. And one activity is not enough to keep me busy, so she put me into karate, thinking that me being a girl child, so it will also help me in the self defense, and it's a martial art which will help me channelize and focus my energies. So that's the reason she put me into that. Yeah, that's how my journey started. And I started off normally, without even knowing more about karate or what holds in the future and how it can be streamlined or how it can be pursued as a sport. That time it was not a sport, it was a martial art. I mean,
Correct.
as a traditional martial art rooted in its traditions. So I started with that, and like going forward, like things started unfolding, and that's how it went ahead. So yeah, that's my journey, how it started.
Okay. And I feel like karate is still something that people view as a self defense thing. So I'd like to know about karate as a sport because it recently became part of Tokyo Olympics last time. So, like, what exactly, when you say that karate is a sport, what exactly happens in a competition? If you could shed light on that and tell about the technical details about karate as a whole, and what exactly happens in the sports sort of aspect of karate.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, many people are not aware of how broad karate is, what actually it is. So many people know it, it's a self defense art. They even are not aware of different kinds of martial arts. So, karate is one of the martial art. We have different kinds of martial arts like karate, taekwondo, judo, wushu, kung fu, many of them. So, now we have mixed martial arts also gaining popularity.
Yeah.
So, everyone knows, yeah, it's a fighting technique, martial arts technique. Obviously, these are all traditional martial arts rooted its in own principles and fighting techniques, which was used in the olden days by people to protect themselves. When so karate is empty-hand fighting, so without any weapons. If they come across any enemies, so how to fight and how to deal with them. So that's how it started. So every martial art has some tradition. It's not only about the physical aspects of it, even mentally, what is the process you go through to just imbibe those values and how it is practiced. It is worshipped and practiced. So these are all deep rooted in the tradition and practiced in like South Asian countries. So karate originated from an island called Okinawa in Japan, and then it spread to different parts of the world. So when it was taken by different disciples to different parts of the world, it was practiced as a traditional martial art. So that's how they practiced it, and took into different countries, including India also. So even when I started in the 90s, late 90s, so the thing is, we started as a traditional martial art karate only. So people used to practice it as a traditional art form. There are a lot of aspects which you learn as a traditional art form, but which what many people don't know is, like, maybe for the last 30-40 years there has been all effort to make it as a sport and include it into one of the Olympic sports. So get into the Olympics, because we have taekwondo and judo, which are the martial
Yeah.
arts
Yeah.
already recognized by the Olympic associations, and it's an Olympic sport. So they wanted to recognize karate as well. So there has been a lot of effort, and finally a lot of changes had to be done, because the way it is practiced in a traditional way, there are a lot of essence and a lot of elements in it that cannot be gauged. Obviously we have tournaments, and we have two different events, that is kata and the kumite. So kata is the demonstration of all the techniques in a synchronized way, in a different pattern which we perform, and kumite is the sparring or the fighting, which is,
Hmm.
like, it's not choreographed or something like that. So, but kata is choreographed. So these are the two differences. And we had this even as a part of traditional karate as well. So when it was a traditional karate, it was a full contact sport. But
Hmm.
now the contact is limited with all the gaze and all. Before, we didn't have the gaze when we used to train. So and they made these changes so that there are certain clause and rules which a sport needs to follow in order to be included into the Olympics or to become an Olympic sport. So certain changes were made in the structure and the way it is practiced, and renamed as sports karate. So sports karate is different from the traditional karate. And like in the last 2 decades, that is where they worked on it and got it finally into Olympics. And karate made its Olympic debut in 2020 or the 21, the Tokyo Olympics. So
Okay.
these two Olympics, like the 24 and 28, is not there, but it's making a comeback in the 2032 Brisbane Olympics, and it's going to be a permanent sport. So
Okay.
this is the evolution of karate from traditional art form into the sports form of it. So if you see, I know the journey as a karateka in the karate art form as well. So this applies the same to most of the martial arts. So that's how they started. It has started as a traditional form. Certain reformations happened, certain changes were made so that they can be, accommodated into the sports bracket of it. So that's where the sport got included into the Olympics, and yeah, now it's recognized, and recently even. And the Olympic Association also has recognized the sport. We have sports quota, and yeah, I mean, obviously, a lot of opportunities are coming up.
Okay. So I would love to know a bit about your experience when you went abroad. You won in Finland, you won in Turkey. You also had a good, impressive rank in Tokyo Olympics. I think in Tokyo, India's contingent basically didn't go, right? Or else you would have had the
Right.
opportunity to actually go to the Olympics and do well over there. So I wanted to know a bit about your achievements and how your overall experience in those big games were, because you have won quite a few medals, correct? So if there's some memorable experience that you have associated with any of your foreign sort of competitions or tournaments you took part in that you still can sort of look up to, so as to say.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So I would also add one thing to my last answer and maybe continue from there.
Yeah.
So this also can be partly to this as well.
Yeah.
So thing is, like, even when every sport started, like, now we have this lot of popularity about badminton. So badminton also got added into Olympics in the early 90s. So the thing is, every sport has some stage where it was added as a new sport, right? So
Correct.
karate is in that phase now. So people are not aware of the sports karate, because people haven't done really great on global platforms, and the, like, the recognition which is like, which people get, it's very limited,
Correct.
or
Correct.
people are not following it that much because they know it as a art. And the sports karate is now gaining popularity, especially in India. It's gaining popularity in the recent years. So without popularity and without like, viewers attention or anything, obviously the government also won't support without any performance or getting any medal. Even badminton started getting recognition
Correct.
only when China started getting medals. So
Correct.
obviously, after getting medals and after performing really great, that is when the attention pulls towards that. Till then, whatever it is,
Yeah.
nothing matters. So that's why, yeah, like the associations were trying really hard to get government's approval, to get funding from them and get the recognition, which is not happening, and which is happening now in the recent 1 2 years. A lot of developments are happening, and hopefully the attention also will be drawn towards
Correct.
this sport. That is what makes it. So
Correct.
that's why, be it the 2020 Olympics or even the like last Asian Games also, we didn't have any participation from India in the karate sport, but now they're considering it. Yeah, that's the reason why Indian contingent didn't make it. But
Correct.
then coming to my experience, so I practice the traditional art form of it in India, and obviously I used to compete in tournaments, and we used to have it in a competitive level. But to this level of professionalism, I learned it when I went to Turkey. Like when I was working in Turkey after my master, that's when I restarted, because I think after my 12th I took a break. In the sense, I was not training actively in the like as a professional athlete, not professionally, but then I was training regularly, just to be in touch with the art,
Yeah.
the sport, and for my fitness. Yeah, but because of the education, and I think I've been blessed because I've been pursuing my education, taking breaks, and pursuing my sport, and then again taking breaks. So I was just switching gear between both of them, and that has been always put in the right place at the right time for me. So somehow that has worked out till now. That's good, yeah. So yeah, I took a break, and then when I started working, I again started focusing on this, because that's where I has some time, because outside of work hours, I didn't have anything much. And when you start as an athlete, you don't know anything much other than your sport. And for me, it was sport and education, nothing else. Be it friends or anything, you don't have that much time, or you don't spend so much time on other things and all those. So that's when I started pursuing it, and I was lucky enough to train with the Olympians and the national team members and all this. So that's where I started building my performance and gained confidence, and my performances started increasing, and that's where I started competing. And yeah, it's a different experience competing, on a global
Correct.
platform and representing your country. Yeah, that's really, I mean, that's a different feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. So, is there some lesson that you learned, or I think because when the first time you go abroad, you meet so many Olympians, you sort of recognize where you stand, right? Because if you're in India, if there's not such a big culture, you feel like you're pretty good. But once you get that global exposure, that is probably when you sort of understand where you stand and how you can improve. So, is there some lesson that you got from anyone particular, maybe if you remember, or just any lesson overall that you remember from your first time abroad, or any time where you had a chance to interact with some different people?
Yeah, definitely. So when I went and started training, they weren't Olympians, because
Okay.
they're also in the national teams,
Yeah, correct.
they're in the national squad.
Correct.
They're national athletes, winning medals internationally and European champions and all, because they made the Olympic debut in 2021
Correct.
in the Tokyo.
Yeah.
So yeah, but they were still professionally good, because in Turkey, being even in the national squad is something of really, like, people who are of great potential, because Indians still weren't over there at all,
Yeah.
and the skill, the amount of hard work they put in, it's tremendous. Like they're really good in what they do. So that's that. So I got to train with them, and what I learned is, like, scarcity creates demand. Just from my humble opinion, maybe I was training with them. That's why it seemed quite easy and uh, so smooth for me. But then here, like, even if I have to meet a state medalist or national medalist, it's not that accessible,
Correct.
because we hardly have Olympians or Olympic medalists. There, it's like in huge numbers. I mean, my friends, they were the 105th or 103rd Olympic medalists. Like, it's like that of Turkey, and we will be like counting like 5 6 medals in one Olympic. So that's how it is. So scarcity creates demand over here, but there it's normal, and they're also normal. Maybe because I was also training with them with the national athletes, so maybe it seemed normal. But for me, talking to Olympians or interacting with them, training with them felt like so easy, and it feels so good. Like, when they're so grounded and helping you, and trying to like help in different ways and analyzing what you're doing, what you're not doing right, and all those things. It's yeah, nice experience. I was a lot of things to learn from them. Yeah.
Okay. Let's switch gears to the academic part as well, because there's a lot of people that feel like you can't balance both. They'll be like, we'll either study or we'll be an athlete or something like that. And there's some people who just have some sort of excuses. They don't do either of them, but they just have their excuses that we can't do both together or whatever. So let's switch gears and talk about your academics. Like how did you even like think about managing both of them? Because I've seen a lot of athletes, they're just barely able to go for their exams, somehow get passing marks. Like, no offense to them, because they don't have any time to like study for it, but how did you like manage both and actually do good in both? Because I think aerospace engineering is also a sort of department that not a lot of people take up in India. Like, I think the only thing about aerospace we know is that IIT Madras, I think, has their own airport track or something like that. That is pretty much what a lot of people have heard about aerospace. So, like, how did your love for aerospace evolve while you're doing karate and all of this? And what do you, now that you are an aerospace engineer? So, what do you do as an aerospace engineer? Because there are a lot of myths surrounding it, and a lot of people actually want to pursue it. But due to the fact that a lot of people go towards computer science or things like that, they end up taking some sort of other stream. So, first, it would be great if you could talk about how you balance both of these, and then shedding light about what you do as an aerospace engineer in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, definitely. So this is not like, people are supposed to manage both, or they can't manage, or if they do this, they can't
Yeah,
pursue another career. Nothing like that. Like, it depends upon the person, and I respect that. If you feel
yeah,
like you can't manage both, that's fine. And if you feel you can manage both, that's also
correct.
perfectly fine.
Mm,
But everything is possible. Like, there is an
yeah,
option. I mean, it's not like it's not possible, and you're not the first one. I'm not the
correct.
last one as well. People are doing, and people will keep doing this. So coming to aerospace engineering, yeah, I initially wanted to pursue this. I was very particular that I wanted to pursue this aerospace engineering itself, and I had that target. And pursuing both aerospace and sports was never in the plan. It
Yeah,
just came out, like, as I told, yeah. Because I started as a kid, I was pursuing that, and meanwhile, even academics was also streamlined parallelly along with
correct,
that. Obviously,
correct.
as you know, parents in India are more focused on education. You
Yeah,
need to pursue, yeah, study engineering, and in those days it was engineering or medicine or something
correct,
really good. So these were the
correct.
options. So yeah, I was very particular that I wanted to do aerospace engineering, and I graduated with bachelor's, and even I started interning with one of the DRDO laboratories, that is ADA. So they are
Okay,
the sole designers of India's first fighter, that's the Tejas. So it started in 1987 on paper. So the design was started by ADA, and I actually worked over there for a year or something. So that's where I got exposed to the aerospace industry, because when you study in college, it's just the theory, and we
correct,
won't be knowing how we are relating it, how we are
correct.
able to connect it to the industry, and how it's going to help us, how we are going to convert it and
Yeah,
apply it in the industry. So it won't make sense. So that is where I got the exposure, and it opened me to a different world. And even till then, I didn't know about Cranfield. So for me, at every step, things started unfolding, and that's where I realized the next step, and it just went ahead. So that's how it happened. And like, I interacted with Kota Harinarayan Saras. I feel blessed to have have presented on a topic to him, and like have an interaction with him, have the guidance, and even like I had the recommendation letter from him. So he is the person behind the Tejas, so Kota Harinarayan Rao. Even if we see the older versions of LCA Mark 1, it's numbered as KH series. So KH is Kota Harinarayan
okay,
Rao. So yeah, and I went to pursue masters in Cranfield. So Cranfield, for people who don't know, is the only university in the world which has only postgraduate studies. It doesn't
okay,
have bachelor's,
okay,
and it's mainly focused on aerospace engineering and allied subjects, around aerospace. Now they're open into different streams of mechanical engineering. They have management and everything. But initially, it was started as a core aerospace engineering
Hmm.
college, and they have their own airfield airstrip as well. So a lot of big aerospace players like be it Boeing, Airbus, Rolls Royce, all have their incubators and research facilities with this university. So yeah, I graduated from there. And during this time frame, I was not actively pursuing karate. So, I graduated, and then job opportunities. So obviously, after graduating, you'll be looking for job
Correct.
opportunities. The thing I would say is, in India, we do have opportunities in aerospace engineering. So before it was limited, like we had very few players in this market, and all are organizations from outside who have the engineering centers over here. So now, because of the drones and everything, we have many startups coming up
Correct.
uh, in the drone sector. Yeah, but not in the core, be it the airframe or the engine manufacturing or the avionics. We don't have any, and it's not a small effort also. So yeah, I just applied to G Aerospace, and it was in Turkey, and Turkey just happened, and that's how I moved to Turkey. So when I was working, I started working, and that's something I was passionate about because when you're working in the domain, you'd obviously like to get into a
Correct.
role which focuses on that particular domain in the core industry. I mean, like the core job, right? In that particular industry. And G is pioneer in that industry right now also. And
Yeah.
yeah, like even back then as well, because they have at least 72% of the entire engine fleet of the world. So, powered by G powered engines, like the aircrafts. So, yeah, I got into G, and I started working. And that's where I again restarted karate. And after I started, initially I started training, continuing my training because I work out in the morning, and I go for training sessions in the evening. In between, I work. So, work is just 8 hours. And later on, when my training session started becoming hectic, in the sense when I started training more professional and uh,
Yeah.
focusing on the performance and competing, so I made a special request to work for only 5.5 to 6 hours. And I used to
Yeah.
compensate, I used to work instead of 5 days, 6 days, but I used to work for less hours so that I can dedicate some time for my trainings both in the morning and evening. And yeah, that's how I managed it. And post COVID, I came back to India.
Yeah.
I've been doing that initially, but right now, on the participation point, I've reduced it a bit. The work load is also increasing. It's not like
Correct.
that's stopping me, but
Yeah.
then I have moved towards coaching a bit, and yeah, that's how I've been able to manage it. So they say to make an athlete, it takes a village. That's a saying.
Correct.
So
Correct.
definitely, I mean, be it from childhood or anything, it's not me alone. See, my family, the people around me, and even when I was working, the people around me who are close to me, or my organization, or my universities or school, everyone has contributed and made it possible. Without those efforts, obviously, I can't do it
Correct.
all alone on myself, be it my coaches, my trainers, everyone, my fellow athletes, or my friends, my training partners. Yeah, it is everyone's contribution. So that's there. And
Okay.
one thing is, there's a lot of myths in India that, if you pursue one career, you have to only pursue that. You can't
Correct.
multitask,
Correct.
or you can't pursue another career, or you can't have another career. I don't think there's a hard and fast rule anywhere written that way because it depends upon a person. I do it because
Correct.
this is how I was programmed since childhood. Because my mom put into different activities, and I was still able to manage the academics. So that's how I started, developing it. And this has to be done, I believe, in childhood, because when a
Correct.
child is growing, start bringing it and the discipline, the focus, uh, during that time.
Correct.
So obviously, as we go up, it will become easier. For me, if I don't have anything more than one or two things, then that's where I feel things are not going right. Because if it's only work, I'm not able to do that because I'm used to doing at least two things or three things at a time
Yeah.
in a day. So yeah, that's how
Yeah.
it depends, I guess.
Yeah. I think it's
So
up to the like early how you like your environment is. It really depends upon
Right.
that.
And even in India, we have athletes like, as you mentioned, even Tejaswin Shankar. He was a full-time employee with Deloitte when he was competing, and just before the Asian Games as well, also he
Correct.
was working over there.
Yeah.
So people do it because it depends upon the sport also. Not
Correct.
every sport
Yeah.
requires uh,
Like a
long
full
hours of
time
practice.
commitment.
For
Correct.
example, yeah, for example, sports like shooting requires long hours of practice in a day.
Correct.
But a physically exhaustive sport like
Correct. Like,
karate or any sports or any even athletics also for that matter, you can't exert your body for more than 2 hours even if you're at a full peak performing,
correct.
athlete also. Like even if you give your best also, your body can only certain at a time it can only sustain for 1.5 to 2 hours. Then rest of time you do have, so you split the sessions like making morning session and the evening session and not afternoon session. So if you require 3 sessions or else 2 sessions are good enough.
Correct.
It's not like you train harder and you are exhausted and the performance also doesn't come out. Rest is
Correct.
also required for recovery. So in that resting period you either pursue education or job or anything, and you can do that.
Correct.
So many people come and say me like, how are you managing both? I'm like,
Yeah.
what is wrong in that? It's a concept in India that if you're doing sports, you can't do anything else. Why not?
Correct.
Why not? Because anyone also, they're only practicing in the morning and evening, even if it's 3 hours also, 6 hours. In 24 hours, 6 hours gone there, 8 hours of sleep. You have
Correct.
remaining hours as well, right? Like almost 10 hours. So what are you doing in between? So you can use it. I mean, it will be hectic, but we can use it.
Correct.
And it's only in India. Like outside, if I see, even Olympians are PhD holders, engineers.
Correct.
They're studying for a career, and they're Olympic medalists, not Olympians. So that is like really fascinating, and that somewhere it motivates. So yeah, I think that concept should change, and people should
Correct.
be open to that.
Correct. And I think it's just about the mentality again. It depends upon your mentality. There are a lot of people in their free time they end up scrolling Instagram or just wasting time on something that is not productive.
Yeah,
So I won't go too much into that. But I wanted to talk about the mental aspect of things now, because when you're playing a sport, I think, and when you're playing a one-to-one combat sport, or if you're playing a team sport where there's sort of a one-to-one battle with the person in front of you, I think there's a lot of things that you learn mentally as a person, right? And I think that is probably, I feel like sports is a way in which you can become mentally really strong versus just
yeah,
doing a job or something. Like, this is what I personally feel like, because I've seen that all of the cricketers or most of the sports person that I know, they're mentally really strong, and they attribute it to the fact that they are playing a competitive sport. So if you're not mentally strong, you're
right.
going to end up losing the competition, and it's a battle that you have to
Yeah,
take part in a lot of times. So is there some mental aspect, or is there some thing about your mentality that you want to talk about, some strategy maybe that you use before you go into the fight, or anything that sort of helps you give your best during the fight? Because something that I've noticed is that whenever you have a good performance, whether it's in an exam or something, or whether it's in a competition, you always sort of have, that you're in some different sort of state, you can say, right? You're in that totally focused state. You can't really describe
yeah,
how you go into it, but you still get a sort of overall understanding of why you were able to get into that state. There must be some sort of mental plug, right? That you sort of, it's like pulling a switch. As you enter,
yes,
you sort of
definitely.
pull a switch, and then you're ready to go into competition. That's is something that I have observed in sports like basketball and American football and all of that as well, because I do watch a lot of documentaries. So they're like, they have their own sort of character self. So they'll be normal
Yeah,
once the game but once the game has started, they'll sort of dive into that new character that they have, like someone like a Virat Kohli, who's really calm off the field, but once he enters that field, he's in that totally different zone. So is there any sort of mental thing that you did that sort of help you get into the zone and give your best in the competition?
yeah. So athletes need to be mentally strong, as you mentioned. That's very true.
Correct.
And I think over the years, no one, like when you start your career as an athlete or when you get into sports, no one is mentally strong. I believe, at
Correct.
least not to that extent, maybe few of them, but not all generally. And throughout the journey, you learn to conduct. It's a trial and error process. What went wrong, how we need to change, what needs to be changed. So for me, it has evolved as I grew over the years, and even it has transformed a lot. So I used to meditate. So that is one of the things. But as I grew, I tried to avoid all the negative noises around me.
Correct.
So bringing in positivity, and even now also till date I follow that. Just you need to focus on your game. So sports is all about, at least in this, it's 70% the mind game and 30% is what the skills
Correct.
and the training what like that.
Correct.
So
Correct.
even if the 70% pays over here, that 30% also won't come. And it has
Yeah.
happened. It has happened to me as well. I've fallen down and got up. So it happens to people also. So the thing is, just be confident. Do a proper training and be confident. So when you have that confidence, you get that feeling when you're on the tatami or the mat.
Correct.
You get that feeling that you're fully prepared. So that has to be there. So once that is there, what I do is just avoid the negative things. That's it, nothing else. Just be positive and act like it's a new game. You're just practicing in the dojo, but giving your best
Correct.
at that moment, not bothering about the scores, not bothering who is the opponent, what their ranking is, where they're from, nothing. So it's just that you need to give out your best and perform well, and just be positive. Don't think about the opponent at all, because this will bring the negativity. It will. It's like a vibe. You're just telling your subconscious mind,
Yeah.
uh, that you're not capable of facing that athlete, or you're not capable of scoring. If you think about the score also, what will happen and everything. So that is one thing. And another thing is visualization. So when you train and practice well, obviously you will have a plan, like what are you supposed to do. So visualize that
Correct.
entire thing. Sitting and visualizing just before the bout. So that's a series what happens before your bout when you're training the tournament day. So I mean, a lot of process goes into tournament preparation, right? Like
Yeah.
it starts from a few days before the tournament, be it the weight cut for the weighing. So
Correct.
all this process, how you control your
Yeah.
nutrition and how do you maintain the weight, and then after that, how do you recharge the electrolytes back to get
Correct.
the energy and all those things.
Yeah.
And after that, even the warming up, doing a warming up session, just meditate and just visualize it. So visualization also happens during the training sessions as well, but that day particularly visualize your board and just go with that confidence and what you have visualized. So this is what works. And
Yeah.
that is, I think, one has to do. And think only about yourself and be positive. Get those positive thoughts in your mind. And the moment you start thinking about the opponent, even
Yeah.
without your knowledge, you're just inviting the negative vibes and telling your subconscious that you're not capable. So that is where it
Correct.
starts going down.
Correct. And I think we can do that in other things as well. Like even if you're taking part in some sort of competitive exam, I think it depends upon what you have
Right.
studied. If you start thinking about that, my friend has studied more than me, or you have such thoughts, I think
Yes.
you don't end up doing like you want to. And the visualization thing, I've actually heard a lot as well, because like I think from most athletes, I don't think there's probably 99% of the top athletes that do visualization, whether it's regardless of the sport. I think that is truly
Yes,
what
definitely.
feeds things into your subconscious mind, right? Because if you have
Yeah.
something visualized in your mind, things actually happen in that way. And if you're doing that for a long period of some time, I think that is something that really
Yes.
helps out. Yeah, you mentioned the Tejas and you mentioned a lot of cool aerospace sort of things. So I wanted to know what exactly you work on as an aerospace engineer, because there is a lot of domains. Like if I give an example for like a lot of computer science folks, there's a lot of different domains. There's DevOps, there's embedded programming, there's things like that. So what sort of domain did you work on? And if it would be cool if you could maybe tell a bit about that tech as well, because aerospace I think is something that everyone is interested in, especially given the fact that
Right.
India has been doing pretty good with the launches and all of that, and people actually do have some sort of interest in that now. So yeah.
So like there are four basic engineering sciences, right? So if you see the computers, the civil, the mechanical, and the other is electrical, and
Yeah.
all the degrees which you have branched out from this. So
Correct.
the core for aerospace engineering is mechanical. So when you study the main, elements which we study are like basically it's the propulsion, the aerodynamics, the structures. These are the main
Correct.
ones. remaining all sciences fall into different categories
Correct.
of these itself. So, like you'll have different, categories in propulsion. Like for example, fluid dynamics. It's also there in aerodynamics, and
Correct.
even in propulsion, you'll be needing it. So there are subjects like this. So when I got into ADA, it's one of the DRDO labs. So
Correct.
in India, as I mentioned, we don't have Indian organizations. We have organizations which are from outside, like the American, the UK, and the Canadian organizations, which have the engineering centers over here. And then we have the government organization, that is the DRDO and
Correct.
ISRO,
Correct.
and partial ones like the BrahMos and all those.
Yeah.
So they work on the defense projects, mostly the defense project.
Hmm.
And one of the main project and the major project is the LCA. That's the fighter we have, the Indian-made fighter. They tried to power it with a Kaveri engine, which was not successful, and they used it for the marine application. And later, the GF404 was used in the Tejas aircraft, or the light combat aircraft.
Correct.
There are one is the DRDO, and the partial ones are like the BrahMos and
Yeah.
HAL.
Yeah.
So Navratna is a Navratna group company. So
Hmm.
HAL has its presence all over India. DRDO also has its labs all over India. So these work in collaboration in building up this LCE. Not only LCE, we have ALH, different combat aircraft, helicopter choppers, and we
Yeah.
have the aircraft and all this. So these are all done partly in India. So these
Hmm.
are the organizations which work there. And when I started, I started working on the systems engineering, since I'm not specialized in any, because in the bachelor's,
Correct.
you just get a glimpse of all the
Hmm.
subjects. You don't
Hmm.
get
Too much
competency or
practical
specialty in
exposure.
any
Yeah.
one of them.
Yeah.
And since the organizations and the job opportunities are limited, and there are many graduating out, so people would want experienced people, and it's one of the very niche domain where safety is of utmost concern.
Hmm.
So there is no room for error, and you need to be really skilled.
Correct.
And yeah, so that's where they hire the experienced people. So coming to the DRDO and AD, they have bachelor level entry, and mostly they take masters only. But even if they do, it's all from the IITs. And aerospace
Hmm.
was only in the IITs previously.
Correct. Correct.
Now there were few private and few colleges in the AIEEE, and now it's opened up everywhere.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now it's spread.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's different. But previously it was only that, and
Hmm.
these organizations used to go for campus recruitment to IITs or the NITs and get the students from there.
Yeah.
I started with systems engineering department in the LCA Mark 1 division in ADA, and that's where I got the exposure, and that's where I decided I want to pursue propulsion, because I need to specialize in one subject. I
Hmm.
can't just be all around, and I can't have a career also. That's where I realized if I need to work in any country in this domain, I need to be specialized in one of the subject. And also for people who want to pursue aerospace engineering, this is a domain where you need security clearance to work in a different country. For me, for example, if I have to go to UK or if I have to go to US, I can't work in the aerospace domain. So they'll have to consider this if they want to pursue their masters
Hmm.
abroad in aerospace
Hmm.
engineering, because of the ITAR and the security clearance. Because these
Hmm.
organizations will
Correct.
be
Correct.
working on the government projects as
Hmm.
well, and mostly it's defense related projects in the aerospace industry. Commercial is fine, but still there are certain uh, subjects
Restriction.
which will
Hmm.
also require the,
Hmm.
like, to have the security clearance, which
Hmm.
means you need to be a passport holder of that country.
Correct.
So that's why NASA doesn't hire unless you're a US citizen. I mean, for internships, for other programs and exchange programs, that's different case. But as a permanent, I'm saying permanent
Hmm.
full time. So these are all the things. And be it even in UK also, even in the Rolls Royce, there's a separate division in Derby which works on the defense project. So we won't be hired to those site. So that is there. So that's okay. Coming back to my work, I specialize in propulsion. I did my master's in propulsion, and propulsion is where it's the science or the design of the aircraft engine. So it's powered by jet engines.
Hmm.
So propulsion is one which propels the um, vehicle, right?
Yeah.
So the science behind what propels it. So that's the gas turbine engine over here. So that is what is studied in propulsion. And yeah, I special and coming to the gas turbine industry.
Hmm.
We have G Aerospace, we have Rolls Royce, and we have Pratt and Whitney. So Pratt and Whitney, and like it went through many spin-offs. And first it was UTC, and then like under UTC only, there was Pratt and Whitney. Then it renamed itself as Raytheon, and now Collins. So these were the three key players in the gas turbine industry throughout the globe. Only three players. And we have Pratt and Whitney. Everyone had their own ups and downs, and sometimes one has one's presence in the market. But G is leading in that segment. And when it comes to the airframes, we have Airbus and Boeing. These are the two main. I'm talking about the commercial
Hmm.
side.
Hmm.
Obviously, when it comes to the business jet and like the defense sector, we have different players as small players from different European countries,
Hmm.
and Russia and other places as well. But majorly in the commercial side, so we have these two, and then we have the avionics. So that deals with the controls of both the the aircraft and the engines. So that is where the collaboration happens, and we have many players in that. Like we have Thales, we have Avionics, even a part of Raytheon. So many other over there. So all these organizations have their headquarters outside, and they have their engineering centers over here. And these people prefer people who have specialized, because everyone is specialized into particular thing.
Correct.
Like Honeywell people, they don't come into gas turbines. They have their own, like startups and all, but that's a different segment of it. So G also doesn't get into the airframe. So it's not that way. So that's why they want people who are specialized in that particular thing, and who have mastered that and get into those opportunities. So even the gas turbine also, it's a big ocean. So we
Hmm.
have different subjects in that, and different like teams in that as well. At different pace like phases of it. So what why I used to work on in Turkey is I used to work on the preliminary design of it. So design and the development, engineering centers are not P&L centers, so they work on the design and the development.
Correct.
Not profit and loss centers. So they work on the design of it, and I was in the preliminary design of it, and I was in the thermal system design, thermal and fuel system design of it. And now I've moved to the mechanical design of it. So yeah, like like an engine, when a program is kicked off from the starting till the end, there are different phases of it. So every phase has different stages of design process, and then the evaluation process, and then the testing process, and then when it enters into market or service. So yeah, there are different teams working on it, and this is my role. Yeah.
Okay. So, Pooja, it was great talking to you. Thank you so much for giving some time on this podcast. So, if there's one line message you'd like to give anyone who's watching this podcast, whether there's someone who's an aspiring aerospace engineer or someone who's interested in karate, what would be a small message you'd like to send anyone watching this podcast?
What I say is, don't limit yourself. If you can think of something, right? If that thought also comes, just go and do it. Just pursue it. It's okay. Give your 100%. Do it. Even if you don't end up or get the result what you expect, at least you'll end up somewhere. So just follow it and wholehearted. If you do something, obviously you'll achieve something. I mean, it's not like it doesn't have to be achievement also, but
Correct.
you'll feel good. You'll end up doing something. So just go for it. Don't hold yourself back. Yeah.
Yeah. So, thank you so much once again for coming to my podcast.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it was great talking to you.